Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth and I run the blog lifefromtheviolasection.com where I share my favorite practice tips, general advice, and tech for musicians. And today I'm actually sharing some bookish content. Again, I'm super excited about that because I love to read. So once in a while I will read books related to music and review them here on my channel and on my blog. The book I've just finished yesterday is not related to music, but the author of the book I'm talking about today is Claire Handscombe, who just recently wrote a young adult novel called Girl Unstrung. It was released in November of 2021, and it's a young adult novel about a high school aged violist. So I was lucky enough to read a free advanced copy of that book back in the fall of last year, and this book, Unscripted, was her first published novel from 2019. So this one came first. Girl Unstrung came second, and they take place, I don't want to say in the same world because it takes place in like a realistic, modern, our world, but same web of characters in both books. So, Unscripted was Claire's first published fiction novel, and it is an adult fiction book. I think she describes it as like a beach read, kind of vacation read, which is exactly how I describe it too. So let's talk a little bit about the plot of this book. I'm just going to read the back cover because if I tried to explain the plot of the book, it would probably take about 2 hours, which is what I do with my boyfriend. After I finish the book, he's like, okay, what happened? And I sit him down, and it's a whole long, messy story of me trying to recall the entire plot. So instead of doing that today, I'm just going to read the back cover. Nobody is a bigger fan of actor Thomas Cassidy than Libby. Nobody. That's why she has a plan. She's going to write a novel inspired by Tom. He's going to ask to turn it into a movie. Their eyes will meet over the script and fade to black. It is a fail-proof plan. But with 4 interwoven lives in play, can anything be that simple? And on the front cover, it has the little tagline, how far can you take your dream? So this book is about a British girl named Libby, who is obsessed with an actor from her favorite TV show as a kid. And basically, she majored in English, she's an English teacher, and she decides to write a book, basically with him as the main character and somewhat her as the other main character. They fall in love, all of that kind of stuff. They don't really get together in the end. And then she ends up giving the manuscript to Thomas Cassidy, the actor that she's in love with, and unrealistic things take place, but it's beautiful. So, here are my thoughts on Unscripted, in case you would like to read it. So, highly unrealistic things happen in this book, but it's such a joy to read, and I truly, truly loved it. I was sucked in, and I read this book in under a week, which is like a miracle for me right now, because I've just been in a reading slump ever since I finished All the Young Dudes, which is a Harry Potter fan fiction about the Marauders, which are Harry's dad and his group of friends. It takes place in the 70s. They're gay. They love rock music. It's fantastic. It's one of the best written books, series, whatever you want to call it, that I have ever read. And since then, it's like nothing can compare to All the Young Dudes. Just perfection. So ever since I finished reading those books, I haven't been quite as into reading, and nothing has impressed me all that much, sadly. But Unscripted, I started last either Monday or Tuesday night, and I finished it yesterday on Sunday. So I know it's like 250 pages, which isn't a ton, but for me, that was good, and I was sucked in. I read it in like 4 sittings. So immediately from the beginning, I just loved all the characters. I could tell really well that Claire, the author, had a very good idea and really knew her characters inside and out as she was writing each and every one. They had such great backstories. I loved reading about their stories from when they were in college, or I guess university, as the British people would say, which I love. I feel like I've spent my whole life wishing I was just British instead of American, but I wish I had a cool accent. So all of the characters in this, even the very minor background characters, all really had great stories, great backstories, and they had personalities. And there were like little mini backstories to back up each little personality trait. Everything like that. I loved it. It felt like a real living, breathing group of friends. So just so that you can picture everything the same way I did, I was picturing the actor Thomas Cassidy to be like Cary Elwes, just because I really like him. And the actor in the book is supposed to be like really friendly, has a nice smile, makes jokes, and is like easygoing and tries to make you feel comfortable. I feel like Cary Elwes would be the same way. I've never met him. I've been in the same room as him, and I've seen him, and he blew my friend a kiss. But other than that, I haven't talked to him. So I don't know. That's just how I imagined the main actor in this, because I feel like in my mind, Cary Elwes is kind of like the character in this book. Okay, so about the whole plot of this, I already explained kind of the plot. I just don't want to give too much away because I hate it when I feel like I've already read the book before I've read the book. Same with when I see a movie trailer and I feel like I've already seen the whole movie before I actually watch the movie. Just trust me, go read this book. So the whole plot of this book is really unrealistic. It likely wouldn't happen. I mean, who knows? Who knows? It could happen. But it's one of those things where, like, this would never happen. This would never happen. But it's written in such a way that's, like, self-aware and is, like, this would never happen, but somehow it's happening and it's amazing and, like, fangirly. It's in such a relatable fangirl way that it was just so enjoyable to read. Even though it is unrealistic, it was just a joy to read it. And it was like eating really, really good candy, and it's just over the top, so, so good. And I feel like some novels don't do this quite very well. I know Outlander fans are like huge fans, but I tried to read Outlander. There were a lot of things I didn't like about it, just that didn't sit well with me. But one thing I noticed in that is that the situation with Claire, everyone's name is Claire. Weird. Okay. In Outlander, the main character's name is Claire, and she ends up accidentally time traveling back to 1700s, I think, in Scotland. And when I read it, it seemed very much like Claire was just like, oh, I woke up, I'm in the 1700s. What I got just from reading the book and just from watching the first couple of episodes of Outlander, I felt like Claire is put into this different reality, and she's just very much okay with it and just accepts it right away. And that just really affected my view of the book. Like, I couldn't enjoy it because it felt too unrealistic. And with Unscripted, the plot is very unrealistic, but it felt realistic. It felt doable because the main character is so self-aware that, like, this isn't normal, and her friends are like, this isn't normal, this is weird, but, like, go do it, have fun. Like, it's very much a realistic reaction to something unrealistic, which makes it feel much more normalized than, like, in Outlander, where she goes 200 years back and she's just like, oh, okay, gotta deal with all these different things now, different diseases, all these different things, but, like, that's okay, it's all good. Like, that's how these books feel to me. So Unscripted did a very good job with its unrealisticness. I loved it. So all throughout this book, Libby has a plan, which is kind of explained on the back cover. She's going to write a novel inspired by the actor he's going to ask to turn it into a movie. Their eyes will meet over the script and fade to black. It is a fail-proof plan. So this is Libby's plan, where she's going to get this actor that she loves to fall in love with her through this, like, a pretty, educated way to do it, not just, like, stalking him or anything. So I love that her plan, she lets her plan evolve as different things happen in the plot. So something in her plan doesn't go right. She's like, okay, well, instead of my original plan, we'll change to this one. This one's more interesting anyway, so this is cool. And I felt like Libby's way of adapting the plan based on things and thinking, like, oh, this is cooler anyway. I felt like that really related to the way that I think and I plan things. So I really liked that. It also kind of reminded me of Clara, the character from Girl Unstrung, who also has an elaborate life plan, and things don't always go as planned, but Clara deals with it in a much less mature way than Libby does, because Libby is, I think she's my age, 25, and Clara is like 15. So 10-year age difference. Clara is a teenager. She's gonna react to things in a different way. A problem that I have with almost every book that I really love and enjoy, just like Unscripted, is that the resolution at the end of the book just doesn't last long enough. And I just want to see the characters happy at the end. I want a sequel. That's basically it. Usually, like, the winding down of the climax into the resolution is, like, my favorite part of any book or movie. And I could just stay there and sit in that resolution for, like, 100 extra pages. With any book that I love, no matter the series, no matter what, I just want more of that resolution. I want more of their happily ever after, any of that. So, I don't think that's the point of novels that get published, but that's just how I feel about basically anything that I love. I want more of it, and I wanted more at the end of this. But, the ending was good. It was good. It's just, I always want more from books that I love, and this was the exact same way. So you do kind of get an extra resolution of a lot of these characters in Girl Unstrung, because Girl Unstrung is the same web of characters as Unscripted. It's just Clara, who is a kid, is the main focus, and the adults in this book are like the adults in her life. So you still get these characters coming up in Girl Unstrung, just not, they're not the main focus. So I'm super excited to reread Girl Unstrung now that I've read this one, to kind of get more of a resolution for all of the characters in Unscripted, because I loved all of these characters. I want to follow their lives even more. I want more of these Claire, okay? Please. But when I read Girl Unstrung, I think the thing that kept me from really truly loving it is that it was way too similar to my own life and my own lived experiences, because it follows a teenage violist who is auditioning for a fancy music school, wants to go to Juilliard, wants to be in an orchestra, all these things. She deals with an overuse injury. She deals with a different injury that affects her viola playing. It was so similar to things that I've encountered in my life, things that I've seen my friends go through, things I went through as a teenager, viola related or not. It was just so similar, and when I read, I do it to escape into a different reality, different world, different viewpoint, all those different things. And Girl Unstrung, the main character Clara, was very much like I was when I was 15. Just a little bit more outgoing and headstrong than I was. I was much more shy. But I started to reread Girl Unstrung last night. The first time I read it, I received a free advanced copy, so it wasn't exactly the edition that was published. So I have bought the Kindle version of Girl Unstrung to read this time around. And I'm super excited to see what, if anything, has changed since the version that I read was given to me, and also just to see these characters that I've come to really love in another context. But yeah, like I said, reading Girl Unstrung will also give me more of that resolution that I'm looking for. And of course, when I was reading Unscripted, since these characters do come back up in Girl Unstrung, I already knew how a lot of it was going to work out, like who was going to end up together, how things were going to end. So I don't want to say it took the fun away, because I still really, really enjoyed this, because I didn't know what was going to happen in between the start and the finish of the book, but it was kind of relieving to know who was going to end up with who, because then I could just really enjoy it and I didn't have to worry. Like, I feel like when I don't know the ending of a book, I'm like trying to get through it as fast as I can because I want to know the ending. But this, like, I knew who was going to end up together and who wasn't going to end up together, and so I could really sit back and just enjoy the journey of all of these characters, because I know what's going to happen. I know the end already. So, yeah. If you've watched or read my review of Girl Unstrung, you might remember that I mentioned a certain medical event that happens not to the main character but to someone else. And in Girl Unstrung, I thought that it happened very suddenly and I wasn't expecting it, which, I mean, is kind of how that medical situation happens. You don't really expect it, it just happens. But that medical event was also mentioned in Unscripted, and this gave the background. So I feel like if you're an adult, reading this one first and then reading Girl Unstrung is the way to do it. Don't read Girl Unstrung first. If you want to read both, read Unscripted. This is supposed to come first, and then Girl Unstrung. I feel like I really did myself and the author a disservice by reading Girl Unstrung first and then Unscripted, because this sets everything up so nicely. And when I read Girl Unstrung, I felt like there were things that were supposed to be understood that I didn't know because I didn't have a background with the characters. And Girl Unstrung is like a sequel, but also a standalone. So it suffered from that sequel/standalone thing where it's not quite either. And I feel like it's just better if you read it as a sequel. Unscripted does have a bit of adult stuff in it, not like explicit stuff, but it is for adult audiences, and Girl Unstrung is meant for young adults, so there is that gap of writing style and maturity in the characters between the two books. But I think if you want to get to know these characters, like, I love getting to know characters. If you want to get to know them, read Unscripted and then read Girl Unstrung. It doesn't matter that they're two different genres. You'll get to really know and love the characters by reading both books. I feel like I had a hard time really getting to know and like the characters of Girl Unstrung, and that's because I didn't get a true introduction to them like you do in Unscripted. Because everyone is introduced really well. Everyone has backstories. You learn their personalities, and Girl Unstrung, it's assumed that you know some of these things maybe. So, and you know, maybe that's because I'm reading it as an adult, and Girl Unstrung is young adult, more meant for a less mature audience who's going to focus more on the younger characters instead of the adults in the background. So I was paying a lot of attention to the adults in the background, but I don't think that's the point of the young adult novel. The point is the 15-year-old girl who is the main focus. So I feel like if you are my age or older and you're just looking for some things to read Unscripted, then read Girl Unstrung. Don't just read Girl Unstrung. Unless you're specifically like, I only want to read things about violists, then just read Girl Unstrung. Just go do that. But I highly recommend reading both books. Unscripted was my favorite out of the two. I really loved Libby and Dan in particular. I loved reading from Dan's perspective. It was just really sweet, and I loved their stories from their days at Cambridge. It was so nice. I love when Claire writes about London. She is British, so I'm sure, you know, this is probably maybe where she's most comfortable writing, maybe where she excels, but I love reading about other countries and places I've never been to. So reading about anything that happens in London is always exciting for me, and I think that Claire writes about London very, very nicely in a way that makes me really want to go there. So I bought my copy of Unscripted from East City Bookshop. It's a small bookshop in Washington, D.C. I purchased it from the bookshop but had it shipped to my house, which is just something to do. You can buy books online from their shop, and if you buy from East City Bookshops, you do get it autographed by Claire, so I have an autograph. The shipping wasn't very expensive either, so all around a good deal, and supporting local bookshops is so much better than supporting Amazon, who doesn't even really make a profit off of their books. It's just a whole mess. So if you do buy this, I highly recommend buying it from East City Bookshop or another smaller local publisher near you. It's also available on Amazon Kindle right now for just $1.99, so if you really, really need some persuasion to go read it, the Kindle version is very cheap. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it. So many different ways to read this book, which I highly, highly recommend. I wish I could experience it for the first time over again, and I want more Dan and Libby content. Really, really want it. So Claire, if you don't write more, I might start writing fan fiction again. So watch out, that might be a threat. Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed Unscripted, and I'm excited to read Girl Unstrung again. I'll keep you updated in the comments, or maybe a smaller little blog post with my thoughts on Girl Unstrung the second time around, with how the characters tie in, and I'm really, really looking forward to reading my favorite part of Girl Unstrung again when she goes to London, because like I said, Claire writes London content very, very well. So I hope you enjoyed my review of Unscripted. I really, really did enjoy it. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads and Storygraph. So if you would like more bookish content, please let me know down in the comments, because I would love to make more. There's a book that I bought like over a year ago called The Ensemble. It's about a string quartet, and I am like, it's fiction, but it's about a string quartet, and I'm super excited to read it. So once I read it, I'm sure I'll make another video and blog post like this reviewing it and letting you know my thoughts, because it looks so good. The cover is really pretty. I know. It's superficial, but the cover is really pretty. Okay, so I will see you next week with a tech video. I hope you have a great week until then. I post new videos every Sunday at noon Eastern time, so if you like this video, please subscribe so you are always up to date on my content. Thanks for watching.